Camp Crystal Lake. A wonderful summer camp where you can practice archery or take a dip in the lake or sing songs with your friends. But Crystal Lake has something very wrong with it, because people seem to keep dying whenever it opens. The local townsfolk are terrified of it, but that's not going to stop a bunch of horny teenagers in need of a summer job from showing up and getting brutally murdered. Following the success of Halloween, Friday the 13th was rushed along and the finished film was sold for auction. The movie was obviously a major success, I'm sure you've heard of it, but is this first entry in the series any good? Or is it just a forgettable slasher that cashed in on another movie's success? It's hard to watch Friday the 13th today without some general knowledge or expectation of what you're gonna get. We all know Jason, the hockey mask wearing serial killer that can't be killed. But the original Friday the 13th is a little more suspenseful and a little less in your face with its antagonist. In fact, most of the segments involving the killer are shot from their point of view, or purposely concealing who is committing these horrible acts of violence. But the original does set the tone and style for the following movies. The iconic music, the teenage victims that are in serious need of adult supervision, and, of course, the gruesome violence. There's a handful of pretty squeamish moments, but much of the violence is either not shown or it's just implied. You aren't supposed to be cheering and laughing much in this. You're supposed to be afraid of a mysterious killer that is taking people out in secret. There's also a bit of sex and nudity in this movie, but again, not excessive. These are just teenagers that are distancing themselves from the rest of the group, making them easy prey. The characters here aren't supposed to be annoying or stereotypes or anything other than normal, likable teenagers. Well, mostly likable. They don't even realize that they're in danger. They're just stressed out, completely unprepared to be dealing with the storm that they're caught up in. And they don't know where their friends have disappeared to. Hell, the final girl in the movie doesn't even know that her life is in peril until she's the lone survivor, and she's being hunted. I actually really like Alice. I love how she goes into pure survival mode. The killer is coming, it's genuinely exciting. When you first meet Mrs. Voorhees, the middle-aged woman that pulls into camp, you might assume that she's the next victim. Maybe if you were watching this in 1980. But you quickly learn that she's the killer, and since you just met her, it's more of an oh shit realization instead of it being a real shock. Not that it was meant to be anything more than that. The movie actually has a few tricks up its sleeve, like introducing this friendly teenager as the likely protagonist of the story before quickly slitting her throat before she even makes it to the camp. I guess her acting maybe just wasn't quite cutting it. Or like when the final girl is out in the middle of the lake. It's morning and the cops are here and all the danger is gone since the lone killer has been decapitated. And at the end of a movie with practically zero supernatural elements, child zombie Jason leaps out of the water and grabs her. Now, this is shocking and incredible and memorable. It's a great ending. The pacing of the movie largely works, and it's entertaining through most of it. There are a handful of moments that aren't suspenseful, where a character is just fidgeting around or tinkering with something, and the camera just lingers on them. But it is relying on tension, so it's not too big of a problem, there's just a few lulls. My biggest issue with the movie is actually during the final encounter. Once you know who the killer is, apart from seeing a few corpses, there isn't a whole lot too exciting. You've got some chasing and some fighting and some running and some more fighting. It's fine, but not the strongest point of the movie for me, because it's a bit repetitive. It's killing time. I think Mrs. Voorhees is more frightening when you don't see her on the screen. That being said, she is really hamming it up, and it's a fun performance. Friday the 13th is an enjoyable movie. It's decently filmed, and it's passively entertaining. It's remarkable for its influence it had on cinema, but it doesn't excel in any one category. It's a solid popcorn flick. It could be disappointing if you were expecting to see Jason chopping up some dumb drunk teens, but it isn't quite there yet. This one is attempting to be a bit more atmospheric. I do feel that the original Friday the 13th is a worthwhile watch. It's a product of its time, and in this case, that might be exactly what makes it work as well as it does.